FCDO. So we have catapulted 4G from 33% to more than 77%. And this is within 3 years and not more than 3 months. And this speed of penetration has never happened from the deployment of 1G, 2G, 3G, up to 4G in Nigeria. And part of our modest effort on behalf of President Muhammadu Buhari also, which was not part of the priority areas, was the deployment of 5G. 5G has been deployed today in Nigeria. Muhammadu Buhari unveiled the policy on 25th January 2022, which is approximately 1 year today. NCC, the National Frequency Management Council, being chaired by the Minister of Communications, handed over 2 spectrums of 5G to NCC for auctioning. NCC conducted a very transparent auctioning in which 2 winners emerged. Both of them commenced the deployment of 5G in Nigeria today. We have 5G in a minimum of 8 states, and by the end of December, we had 5G in a minimum of 225 sites in the country. Only 2 days ago, the second winner also commenced the deployment of 5G. And there are so many benefits of 5G. Revenue generation for government, economic development, helping our security institutions, among many other benefits. There are uncountable benefits of 5G today if managed effectively. So today we have 5G, which is completely outside the priority areas given to us. And we have increased revenue generation for government through the deployment of 5G, which I hope to speak on in some of the priority areas in the future. For example, in the US, based on a report and research conducted by Boston Consulting Limited, that the deployment of 5G in the US alone will increase the GDP, gross domestic product of the US, by a minimum of 1.4 trillion USD to around 1.7 trillion USD, only 5G. And there is a high probability that 5G will create a minimum of around 3.6 million new jobs to around 4.6 million new jobs in the US. And it is the same in Nigeria. If you look at the low latency, the high quality of broadband, among many others. And 5G will support our security institutions if they deploy and use it effectively. Because most of the operations today of security are being conducted through technology. Most of their systems require technology to function, whether computer system, command system, communication system, control system, whether intelligence system or information system or surveillance system or connivance system. Each and every system you deploy in security today requires technology. And the most effective technology when it comes to communication is 5G. And 5G allows real-time communications or almost real-time communications. So with this, you can be able to deploy many technologies to help our security institutions to conduct security operations without unnecessarily endangering their lives physically. Technology can do many functions of security today. This takes me to the third one, that is to develop policies that will guide the digitalization of government functions and processes. Some of the major initiatives of our President Muhammadu Buhari here, in which, based on the independent assessment, the administration obtained 99%. Some of the major initiatives in November 2019, immediately we commissioned a world-class national e-government center in Bua, in Public Institute. That center was attracted through a grant, free grant by the Korea Republic. They spent huge amount of money to support our effort, and they have established a world-class National E-Government Training Center. And we introduced many trainings for our government officials, both civil and public servants, at various levels. Providing high-level training, we have trained over 1,400 government officials, some of them within the country, some of them travel to the Republic of Korea for training. Some of them even obtain MSc and PhD in e-governance. Some of them are still there. And all these support, scholarship and many more came to government for free. Secondly, part of our initiatives is also the implementation of NICTIP 2. NICTIP 1 has been implemented by the previous administration, which covers Southwest, South-South, and Southeast, while NICTIP 2 was left in the pipeline. This administration commenced the implementation of NICTIP 2 to cover the northern states and few other states that have not benefited from NICTIP 2, NICTIP 1 in the southern part of the country. So all of them are being covered by federal government broadband today, laying fiber optics for federal government of Nigeria. As at today, we have covered a minimum of around 28 out of 36 states in Nigeria. In addition, only on the 20th of December 2022, His Excellency President Muhammad Buhari has commissioned the National Shared Service Center. National Shared Service Center here in central area in Abuja. We were with him during the commissioning. And the project was implemented by Galaxy Backbone Limited, which is another parastatal of government. In that project, government spent over 10 billion naira. But what is most important, this center and the amount was generated through internally generated revenue. The entire amount was through IGR. In this National Shared Service Center, there are so many facilities, including data center, cybersecurity center, training center, data management center, among many others. And also the center will host some government officials, government civil servants, particularly the officials under Galaxy Backbone Limited. Furthermore, by 30th and 31st of January 2023, meaning early next week, His Excellency President Muhammad Buhari could also be in Kano in order to commission another data center, Tier 4 data center in Kano. Today in Africa, to the best of our knowledge, there is not any data center that is over and above the Tier 4 data center we have in Kano today. Outside Abuja, it is the first ever data center in northern Nigeria with that capacity. This is part of our effort in order to ensure the digitalization of government functions and services and processes, as the case may be. You cannot digitalize government without data centers. You need to know where to keep your data. In addition to cloud computing facilities we have backup of cloud computing facilities also in Nigeria today. Part of the effort of President Muhammad Buhari's administration when it comes to digitalization of government services is the development and implementation of the national policy for virtual engagements in the federal public institution. Before the development of this policy, virtual engagements in Nigeria were not formal and official. It is only with the development of this national policy in October 2020 that virtual engagements, virtual meetings and others had been institutionalized and formalized in Nigeria. Prior to that, they were informal, but today they had been formalized. To the extent that government has been saving a huge amount of money through the implementation of this policy. Many meetings take place today virtually. And even at the Federal Executive Council, we introduced the first ever administration to introduce virtual meetings. From the time we introduced virtual meetings in early 2020 to the last meeting we conducted late 2022, we managed successfully 108 Federal Executive Council meetings. 108. And throughout history, from the first one to 108, there wasn't any security breach. And many criminals make effort during our meeting to compromise. There was a time that we had a virtual meeting. In the process of having virtual meeting, there were 66 attempts in order to hack the system and compromise it, in order to embarrass government. None of them was successful. In fact, there was a day we intercepted over 160 attempts in order to hack the system and penetrate and embarrass government. None of them was successful. And most of the attacks came from Europe. We had to inform the country where the attacks were coming from. We conducted 108. Now we resume fully for physical Federal Executive Council by our meeting yesterday. It was the first one where we attended the meeting physically. So we conducted 108 virtual meetings. None of them was compromised by cyber criminals. In addition to National Economic Council meetings, many of them took place. In addition to Security Council meetings, many of them took place, where all the former heads of state were invited from their location, and we coordinated all the meetings, some from Mina, from Ogun, from Plateau, anywhere. We connected all the meetings, and none of them was compromised by cyber criminals. Through IT project clearance of the National Information Technology Development Agency, we have approved the implementation of and the automation of over 1,600 government projects in Nigeria. And all of them are dealing with the automation. That is why you'll discover some of them in the Central Bank of Nigeria, some in Federal Inland Revenue, some in Corporate Affairs Commission, some of them in Customs Services, some of them in the National Communications Commission, some of them at Galaxy Backbone Limited. All these government institutions, you will discover that we have approved the most important processes and functions to be implemented virtually or to be automated, a minimum of 1,600. Through the process, we have saved federal government over 47 billion naira. Because of time constraint, let me go to the priority area number 4. That is the development and implementation of the National Digital Economy Policy and Strategy for a Digital Nigeria. I explained that earlier. I don't need to go back to it and speak on it extensively. The policy has been developed and it is now being implemented. In the course of its implementation, a lot has been achieved. Most importantly,